All right, here's our third section from chapter 9, 9.3. In this section, we're going to talk about weight and converting weight, and we're going to talk about temperature. Before we get started, weight is technically the measure of the gravitational pull of an object. So actually, your weight would be different here on Earth than your weight on the moon because of the gravity difference, right? Where mass is actually the quantity of matter in an object. And so your mass would never change whether you're here on Earth or at the moon. But a lot of times we kind of interchange those two ideas where we say weight, but we really mean mass, or we say mass when we kind of are thinking about weight more. We're in this section actually, though, we're going to treat those as equivalent and we're just going to refer to weight, okay? So just thinking about the weight of an object, ignoring the idea of mass, okay? So when we talk about weight in the English system, we usually use the units pounds or maybe even ounces or maybe even tons. And so here are our first couple of different unit conversions in the English system: ounces to pounds, pounds to tons. That should be on your formula sheet. You should have your formula sheet out next to you as we're doing this so you're comfortable with where everything is at, okay? Those are the typical English system conversions. But our metric system conversion, when we talk about weight, we use the base unit grams. Remember, meters was what we used when we talked about length or distance in the metric system. Liters is what we use when we talk about capacity or fluid. And now grams is what we use when we talk about weight. Okay? And we can still use the saying King Henry died drinking chocolate milk, but our base unit this time would be grams. So that the unit in the middle would be grams instead. Okay? And so let's use that idea to do a couple of conversions in weight in the metric system first before we keep going. So example number 1 says we want to convert 8.7, what is that, decigrams into milligrams. Remember, you have to know which D comes first and second, so this would be decigrams to milligrams. I noticed as I was doing this, like if this were a test question, I noticed that this was metric to metric. And so because of that, we're going to use our King Henry saying. King Henry died drinking chocolate milk, where our unit, base unit would be grams, the one in the middle. I know that I'm starting at decigrams and I want to go to milligrams. And so I need to move my decimal to the right twice. I need to multiply by 10 again. And so for every 8.7 decigrams, there's really 870 milligrams. So using that King Henry to me helps a lot. Try part B, see if you can do that one. Can you convert 950 milligrams into grams? Well, in this case, we're going from milligrams to grams, 1, 2, 3, and so we have to divide a couple of times by 10 to get back to grams. And so for every 950 milligrams, there are 0.95 grams, being able to go from metric to metric using that saying, okay? All right. Here's the next idea we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about volume and weight. And so we've actually talked about a couple of different things in this chapter so far. We've talked about volume. Remember, that's the amount of space something takes up. We've talked about capacity. Remember, that's the amount of fluid it can hold. And now we can actually go between the three and talk about weight of something. So we can go volume, capacity, weight, and back and forth. And here are some different metric system conversions from weight to capacity to volume. Okay, let me show you an example of how we're going to use this idea. Example number 2 says that we have an aquarium and it holds 0.25 cubic meters of water. Because we're used to the English system and not a metric system, I don't know about you, but I'm not really sure how big 0.25 cubic meters is. But the question says, how much does this water weigh? Well, if I can figure out how many pounds of water, well, that'll kind of give me an idea of how big or small this aquarium is. And so how much does it weigh? We can go into pounds. We want to go from cubic meters into pounds. We want to go from volume into weight. Now, we might have to go from volume to capacity to weight and do a couple different steps here. So let's maybe do that. Let's get out of cubic meters and into weight. Using our dimensional analysis, if I want to get out of cubic meters, I can go out of cubic meters and go into kilograms using this conversion. So for every 1 cubic meter, there are 1,000 kilograms. From there, I ended up converting again from kilograms to pounds. So again, notice what I did. I wanted to get out of cubic meters, so I knew the cubic meters needed to be on the bottom. I knew from my chart that there was 1,000 kilograms for every cubic meter, so now I was into kilograms. But kilograms don't really mean much to me either because that's a metric conversion. If I want to know weight, to me pounds makes a little more sense. So I want to get out of kilograms, I want the kilograms to cancel, and I want to get into pounds. So I had to do a couple of different conversions on this one. And so now my units that are left are pounds, and I can multiply across the numerators, I can multiply across the denominators and divide, and I end up getting 556 pounds. So that's a pretty big aquarium if it weighs 556 pounds. I went from volume to weight doing a couple of different conversions. Out of cubic meters into kilograms, and then out of kilograms into pounds. Okay? All right. Here are a couple of different other weight conversions from English to metric: ounces to grams, pounds to kilograms, tons, and so on. Let's do a couple examples of this. It says here to convert 160 pounds to kilograms. And so I start with 160 pounds. I'm going to use my dimensional analysis to get rid of pounds and into kilograms. And I know that there are 0.45 kilograms for every pound. So now I'm out of pounds and into kilograms, and I can say that a 160 pound person is really the same thing as 72 kilograms. Okay, let's go from metric to English. So what if I said I had 300 grams, but I'm not really sure how much that is, so let's convert it to ounces. I can start with 300 grams. I can get out of grams and into ounces. I can use my chart to say that there are 28 grams for every 1 ounce, and then I can divide 300 by 28, and I end up getting 10.7 ounces. So being able to convert back and forth from English system to metric system when you're talking about weight. Being able to find all of these different conversions on your formula sheet so that you find out where they're at, you can use all of them, and so you don't get stuck on anything. Let's do one more example in this video when we talk about weight. So here's a good one. It says drug dosage is frequently based on a patient's weight, measured in kilograms. So depending on how much you weigh, depends on how much drug you get, right? But it's given in kilograms because most other countries use the metric system. We're the difficult ones, we use the English system. But a lot of times drugs are given in dosages in kilograms. It says here the prescribed drug is 6 milligrams per kilogram daily. You're given 6 milligrams of drug for every kilogram that you weigh daily. How many 200 milligram tablets should be given each day to a patient who weighs 150 pounds? So because we weigh ourselves and we weigh ourselves in pounds, that's the first unit that we're given. So we're 150 pounds, but the problem is the drug isn't given per pound, it's given per kilogram. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to get out of pounds and into kilograms first. So I know we started at 150 pounds. I want to get out of pounds and into kilograms to figure out how much I weigh in kilograms instead of pounds. I'm going to use my table up above to fill in the numbers. I ended up getting 0.45 kilograms for every pound. And so instead of saying that this person weighs 150 pounds, we could really say that this person weighs 67.5 kilograms. So this is how much this person weighs, 67.5 kilograms. Now, if this person weighs 67.5 kilograms, they are given 6 milligrams per kilogram of how much they weigh, correct? And so per kilogram, they're given a certain number of milligrams. They're given 6 milligrams for every 1 kilogram. Do you see that the kilograms are going to cancel? And what unit would you be left with? Yeah, you'd be left with milligrams, right? And so then you can figure out how many milligrams of this drug you need to give this person. So a couple different conversions that we're going to have to do in one problem. And so I know that this person weighs this much, but I know that he needs 6 milligrams per kilogram. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply it and get it into milligrams. So I know now that this person needs 405 milligrams per day based on this person's weight. If each tablet, though, is 200 milligrams, can I divide by 200? And so it's a little bit close. We're going to have to kind of round a little bit. You get about 2 tablets. This person needs 2 tablets of this drug per day to make sure that they're not over-prescribed and overdose and or under-prescribed and aren't getting better, right? So a couple of different steps we had to follow in this one. Starting with their weight in pounds, converting their weight to kilograms. Taking their weight in kilograms and figuring out how many milligrams it would be in drug. There was 405 milligrams per drug, but each tablet was 200 milligrams each. So we had to figure out how many tablets this person needed. So we got 2 tablets. Make sure you follow that one again. If you need to pause it, go back, rewind, do it again, make sure that you do that. That's a really good question of conversion into weight in the from English to metric, and then from weight into our metric system in milligrams. Okay? All right, let me know if you need anything as you're working through the first part of this section. We got one more thing to cover in this section. We'll talk about temperature in the next video.